It is the Turtle Dork back with a new movie review for you today. So this past week we had the 20th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, it is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is the film coming off of Avengers Infinity War, what some would call a palate cleanser. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. Just to start off, well, before I start off, I want to say I might get into some minor spoilers. A lot of these reviews that I'm starting to get back into, I don't really want to get too spoiler heavy, but I might get into some minor spoilers. Not anything too deep, but just kind of maybe some plot points and some character motivations and stuff like that. But with that being said, let's get into what I really enjoyed about this film. The first thing that kind of comes off bad is really just the family dynamic between a lot of the characters that we see kind of carried over from that first film. Really the heart of this film is Scott Lang and his daughter. You see that a lot in this film, and it continues to be the heart of this film. We also get to see that again with Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne and the relationship with them, and this also goes further with Janet Van Dyne and the mother-daughter relationship. So not just the father-daughter relationship, we also have that dynamic as well. But I like how that continues to be a really strong theme in these films. Something else that really kind of stood out to me, and I thought was utilized very well, sometimes Marvel kind of gets criticized for this a lot, is the comedy. Now with Ant-Man, I think Ant-Man is a film that lends itself to the comedy. So I think people who kind of complain or I understand being tiresome of kind of the levity that people see in a lot of Marvel films. I would say that this film is the exception to that. But even with that being said, if that's something that's not really your bag, that's cool. But for me, just within the context of this film, I thought the comedy really worked well. I think most of the jokes, about 90%, landed for me. I really enjoyed a lot of the kind of the ancillary characters and supporting characters that we see when it comes to the comedy. I thought Randall Park, for me personally, was really funny in this, and his chemistry that he has with Scott Lang. The relationship that they have with him being this FBI agent that is kind of tasked with making sure he doesn't leave the house because he's on house arrest, and it's their banter back and forth is really good. And of course with Scott Lang and his gang, T.I. and Michael Pena and the other gentleman that I can't think of his name, but they are great. And there is a bit that deals with some truth serum when you really get to see Michael Pena do his thing that people love from the first film, when he's recounting a story, and it's genius. It's really funny. So I thought a lot of those bits work. And then the action. I thought the action was done really well. When you talk about the power set of being able to shrink and grow, and how that is utilized in a fight sequence, and the way these fight sequences are choreographed, and the way they're blocked, and just the inventiveness of the way they're able to use the shrinking technology, and the way Peyton Reed shoots this, it's fun to watch. It is really again inventive. It's fun. It's exciting, and it's something different and within the MCU that we don't really get to see that much. I mean, of course we saw it in the first film, but especially with the Wasp and the way she really uses this power, and then going to the villain, or I'll say more so the antagonist of Ghost, played by Hannah John-Kamen, and I'll get into her a little bit more. But when she has these fight sequences with the Wasp and her power sets, as far as the way she phases and can phase through walls and disappear and whatnot, how that is choreographed in a fight scene with the Wasp, when she shrinks and grows back, and the phasing, it's pretty damn impressive. But to some of the things that really kind of bothered me in the film, there's two major things. One, I'll kind of get out of the way. Oh, actually, that's one thing I like is Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins is really, really good in this film. His performance, he is so cool. He comes off with so much swag in this film. You can't take your eyes off him. He is a lot of fun to watch. But that also goes to my bad because I think when it comes to his storyline and what his character serves in this story, you could have taken that whole you could have taken that whole storyline out of this movie, and it wouldn't really have made too much of a difference. In some respects, his character and his goons and that whole storyline kind of gets in the way of the story of the main through line, the main through story that we're watching. So I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate that that character and that story can really be tossed to the wayside because he gives such a really, really cool and fun performance. But at the end of the day, his character is kind of useless in this movie. Now, I've kind of come around on the character of Ghost. Now, to me, she's less of a villain and more of an antagonist. And that kind of bothered me when I saw the movie the first time, because I've seen it twice. But going back and watching it the second time, I've kind of come around on it a little bit because you learn a little bit more about her backstory as far as like what happened with her family and the anger that she has towards Hank Pym because of the relationship that her father had with Hank Pym and what Hank Pym did, and also how S.H.I.E.L.D. used Ghost. So I kind of understand her motivation, but she comes off more so as a very sympathetic character, and that's one thing that I really like about the character of Ava. She really comes off very sympathetic, and it just feels like her antagonistic motivation towards Ant-Man and the Wasp and Hank Pym, I think felt more like a misunderstanding than anything else. I think, if they would have just kind of sat back and had a conversation, you would have saw that they were really kind of on the same page as far as like what Hank and Hope were trying to, what their mission was, and what Ava Ghost, what her mission was. So I don't know. It's kind of jumbled. I think script-wise, it's kind of jumbled. That could have been handled a little bit cleaner. So although I don't really see her as a true villain, they did some interesting things with her character to really kind of draw you in and understand the pain that she feels by having this kind of phasing power and wanting, and the motivation for her to want to heal herself. So I really kind of appreciated that from her character. So yeah, that's those are my initial thoughts of the film. I enjoyed this. It's kind of hard to think about, like, now 20 films into the MCU where I kind of rank Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I would say probably comparable to the first Ant-Man. I'm thinking I like this one slightly better than the first one. But yeah, man, it's definitely worth checking out if you were a fan of the first film, and if you just enjoy these MCU movies altogether. I think you're definitely going to have an enjoyable time watching this film. But anyway, let me know what you thought of the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp in the comments below. Go ahead, rate, like, subscribe, and share, and go and check out my other dorks. At MouthDork, at TheDiscoDork, and at Sidewalk Siren. And as for me, I am the Turtle Dork, and with that, I'm out.